Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Tabitha, who is a missionary here at the Rural Dyer Hospital, also known as the Jungle Hospital in rural Honduras. And so thanks for joining me to do this. So I've been asking all the CHSC missionaries that I've connected with a few different things. First and foremost, and I'm very interested because as a single female going to the mission field, kind of want to know maybe what were your big apprehensions before maybe you left? Were there anything that you were really apprehensive about before jumping into missions? And how did you do that? Did you just, okay, this is it, I'm done, I'm gone, I'm going, or was it a gradual process, and what did that look like?
Well, it kind of happened rather quickly. I've been called to missions, and I've known that I was going to be a missionary of some sort since I was 9 years old. And so all throughout nursing school, I knew that I wanted to go into the mission field. And so when the time came for me to come, it all happened so quickly, and I was just so excited that I didn't really look into the dangers of the country, really, until I got here. So I didn't have a lot of apprehensions about coming. I think I was just more excited. But when I got here on the field and I learned a little bit more about the country, and I learned about the dangers of traveling as a single white female, and it's not safe to be alone, not safe to travel at night. It was then that I realized, it is a little bit different than I expected it to be on the mission field. And so I did have to gather my thoughts about that and change my perspective just a little bit. And I think that's pretty much the only true apprehension that I had. Dr. Martin and Miss Wendy have been super great about educating us on that and protecting us from harmful things. And so I just listened to their advice and followed their instruction, and I haven't really felt like I've ever been in danger since I've been here. So,
So you've been here how long now?
I've been here 6.5 years.
6.5 years. So
yes. You've
had a little bit of experience out here then. What have been your biggest challenges, if you don't mind me asking?
I think one of the biggest challenges about being here so long is that, family, friends back in the States, they move on, not necessarily that they forget about you here, but life does go on. Things change, people make new friends. And then when you go back, you try to figure out your place in all of that. So I think that has been the biggest challenge, because you here sometimes don't always make the communication to keep those relationships moving forward. So I've had to learn, you have to put effort into making relationships continue. And so that's been a huge thing for me to learn. And I think that by knowing that, it helps a little bit with the challenge of knowing that your friends are making new friends, and your family, they're going through celebrations and like life change that you're not always a part of.
Sure.
So I think that has been probably the biggest thing. That's the hardest thing, I guess. Yeah.
Well, that's got to be really challenging. And I think sometimes this is a pretty isolated place. It's not like so you do have a lot of visitors come through here, and you have an opportunity to work with a lot of short-term groups, as well as have the clinic and the hospital initiative here. But there's times like this when there's not a lot of groups here, but it's probably good to have some downtime, but it is kind of isolated up here. So you finally have a vehicle. I think that's probably a good thing. That you can you can escape. And I always tell people when they go to the mission field, I said, whether you're single or your family, having a car and having some independence and mobility is really helpful, because it's just you're not trapped then, or you never feel trapped. But what have been your biggest blessings here since you came?
Biggest blessings personally, I think because I came here at such a young age, I had just graduated college, and I only worked for a few months in the States, so I had little experience. But then moving here so young, I feel like I have really been able to explore and figure out the calling that God has had in my life. And I feel like I've been able to really grow in that area. And many people don't go onto the mission field until later on, maybe in their 30s or their 40s. Who knows? It's later on in life sometimes. And I feel like for me, it's been a huge blessing to just be able to grow up in that, because now I've been here 6.5 years, and there's just been so much life experience that's happened here with teams, figuring out how to be a leader, figuring out how to be a nurse, but not just a nurse in the States, but a jungle nurse, which is sometimes completely different than nursing in the States. You have to figure out where your resources are coming from, and sometimes you have to get really creative in that area. So I feel like I've become a more well-rounded person by living here and kind of growing up here and growing into that calling that God has placed on my life. So that's probably been one of the biggest blessings. And then just working in such a close-knit community, you really feel like you've gained family here with the people that you work with here at the hospital and also on the mountain, through the other ministries. Yeah. So that's been a great, great blessing. They're a great source of relationship and a great source of encouragement, because there are missionaries all up and down the mountain who have been here different periods of times. So they have gone through some of the same experiences before that I may be going through right now. So just being able to reach out to other people and gather their experience is a huge blessing, I think, here on the mission field. So that's good insight. It's really good insight. It's hard to, we try to tell people that you kind of need a mentor when you first get out on the field. You need to be there. There's got to be somebody there that has walked that road already, so that you can continue to grow. So we talked about challenges. We talked about blessings. We talked about, I think some of the unique challenges of being a single female, out here. What advice would you give a new missionary heading out to the field as, a single woman? Is there any counsel or direction you can give her? Sure. Well, obviously, learning the language is huge. If you're not able to communicate well, then you aren't able to learn the culture, and you're not able to build relationships. So language is key. But I think another huge factor going into the mission field is just being teachable. Some people come on to the mission field, and I've seen this through just short-term people, maybe 6-month people or 1-year people, but they come in thinking that they know how it's done, So a huge factor, I think, is just going in being teachable, being open to learning new ideas and adopting ideas of the people that you're working with, coming under them and being an armor bearer for them, For me here, I came under a ministry that was already operating and had been operating for a while. So it was very important that when I came in, I didn't try to change those ideas, but I just come under them and try to lift them up and help them establish the goals that were already in place. So being teachable is very, very important. Being able to adapt to some things that you may not adapt to normally, just being able to be stretched a bit and being willing to learn and being willing to do whatever is necessary on the mission field. I'm a registered nurse, but I don't always do nursing. I help with teams, and I help cook, and sometimes I help clean, and all of those things don't always fall under the healthcare profession. So just being open to doing whatever is needed to further the kingdom, not just a nurse like I am,
That's really good. It's good direction. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that people run into is they go somewhere and they see things aren't right, and they're not working the way they think they should, or in any context like this, there's going to be challenges and issues, and things aren't, the processes are dysfunctional from our worldview sometimes, but trying to change them just kind of runs people off of the field, because you have to have that teachable spirit, like you said, to be able to adapt, to grow. And then you build a strong enough relationship that you can speak into those issues.
Right.
But it takes time.
It does.
And I think you've mastered that intuitively. So I give you a lot of credit. So thank you for taking time out to do this, Tabitha. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for allowing me to give a little bit of insight.
Good.